In today's video, this is going to be part 2 of installing a cam into a Gen 3 Hemi. We use the Texas Speed kit. We already completed part 1, so definitely go check out part 1 if you guys are just stopping by and checking out this video for the first time. We went through exactly how we removed everything. Now we're going to get into how to install the cam and all that. Also, there is going to be a couple small videos, namely the cam phaser limiter and also MDS delete. I'll make a couple separate videos on that. I'm trying to keep this as detailed as possible without making super long videos. So check out part 1. Also, if you're interested in the limiter, go and check out that other video as well as MDS delete, how we did that. We'll have a separate video for that. So let's get straight into it.
All right, here's the magic right here. Texas Speed Gen 3 Hemi camshaft. Look at the lobes on that thing.
There she is.
Oh, here's a cam card.
So we got 582 lift, 113 and 110.
Yeah, the duration at the 50, 223 on the intake, and 232 exhaust.
Jeez. All right.
Choppity chop chop.
Let's get her in there. So we've got the cam all lubricated, and Steve's just gonna get this thing in here.
This is really slippery right now.
So he's just taking his time. You don't want to rush this. You don't want to knock out any of your bearings or anything like that. You just kind of put it in, a little turn here and there, and throw it in.
I might need the bolt from the old one actually.
Just to
I'll
put it
stop
in.
for a second here.
So Steve's just gonna throw the cam bolt in there, just kind of give him a little handle to get the last portion of it in.
This is the tricky part at the back. Oh, so close.
That's the worst part right there. There it is.
Okay.
It's in. Alright, so right now we're just using that. We're putting the pin right at the top because that appears to line up with the top as well.
And also we're rolling around just to make sure everything's free.
Yeah, so it's there's no excessive resistance on it or anything like that. So we're gonna drop it in just like that. And
reassemble. Now this one with the tool has the longer bolt for that spring. So just remember that. So when you put it back, this guy is gonna go right there.
so Steve's got the chain on our cam gear with the phaser, and he's just trying to line this up. Gotta line up the dowel.
Okay.
So next day here we got Steve with his jar of honey.
Hellcat lifter, honey.
He's got the lifters soaking in oil. It's kind of controversial whether you do or don't, but we did it anyways just so they're well lubricated. So he's gonna pull them out of there. We also painted this up last night. You guys didn't miss anything. Check it out, boys.
This is what you have to do. Use a hood hinge bolt.
Look at that. The whole nasty thing comes out just like that.
We put in our MDS deletes like we showed you. Coat of paint on there, cleaned up our surfaces. Head gaskets on. Yes, here we go with our lifters.
Okay, what's going on here?
There you go.
Just give him
A little jiggle.
a little jiggle jiggle.
And then there's the 8mm bolts right there that holds it in place. So Steve's torquing those down to 108 inch-pounds right now.
Which is 9 pounds.
Yeah, 9 foot-pounds, 108 inch-pounds. Okay, so we're gonna show you guys the valve spring process. We already did one head just so that we kind of got the hang of using our specific tool that we have. So Steve's got it here. There's gonna be a washer on the bottom. There's your stock spring with this little cage around it. And you'll also have your retainer and your keepers.
So this is the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're putting in these different ones. They're taller, and we're replacing it. The little cage part, if you're wondering, doesn't transfer over. We don't need that. It's gonna look like this installed. This is the old one, so I'll show you guys how to do it. Okay, so we're using the C-clamp style. It's essentially a massive C-clamp. It's gonna push on the valve, and then it goes around, and then up top, it's gonna go around. It's gonna push on the retainer,
and it's gonna compress it, and you're gonna be able to get your keepers out. So they're all gonna be different. This one's kind of works like this. You squeeze it down until you get it in place, and then you crank this down, and it ends up squeezing everything together, and it'll start compressing the spring.
Okay, stop.
There it goes. Okay. All right. So you'll probably hear it pop like that, and it's gonna start to expose the keepers. Just keep collapsing it until you're able to get and see the whole keeper, and we'll show you guys the next little trick. All right, so once you start getting it down, take a little magnet like this, and you can kind of play a little game here. You'll see that these probably almost want to come out, but not quite, so we'll have to compress a little bit lower so we can get these keepers out. There we go. Okay, so you can see this one pretty much fell out. And if you grab, jeez, still a little bit more. Okay, so there comes one keeper. Let's take it off, and then you can rotate the other one around and get the other one out, and now we can relieve the pressure on the spring. Okay, so once you relieve the pressure, you can remove this. You're gonna need this piece, your retainer. You're gonna take off the washer, so discard these parts. Make sure there's no junk down there. You can put in your new washer, our new spring, transfer this over, and then we're going to compress this back down. We'll put in our keepers. All right, we got the tool back on, so now we are sucking this down until you see enough of the valve stem exposed so we can get the keepers on. All right, so should be able to get this on, and there's two different ways. So just so you guys know, look at the taper on it. So you're gonna see it's sloped down, like it's cone shaped. So you're gonna wanna make sure you have it in this orientation when you put it on. So you're gonna put it here. You might notice like this, like it's not perfectly centered. You can move this tool around a little bit to center the spring and the retainer on there so you can get it in. So we're gonna put that there. We're gonna get our other keeper, which is still on the magnet. We're gonna put this on, and then I'm gonna hold these together while Steve releases the pressure. And just make sure these stay fully seated. Okay, so it's almost fully seated right there. Okay. And now we can release that. We take that off. And the next part is optional, but some people like to whack this with a hammer just to make sure that it stays fully seated and sets itself. But just take a look, make sure there's no gaps on the end of your keepers. You can pretty much tell, and you can also reference an old one to make sure it's sitting at the same height. So same procedure, you guys. We're just gonna go ahead and get them all out. Steve's gonna
Takes a little bit.
go to the gym over here, and let's make sure they all come out. There we go, guys. We've got all of our new springs and hardware all installed. Both heads are ready to go, so we're gonna go ahead and mount these. All right, here goes the cylinder head. Steve
heavy.
ate his Wheaties this morning, so he's good. Just gonna locate it on the dowel pins. So we've got this head on. We've got all the bolts in, but we haven't started tightening them yet. We're doing the same thing to this side. We've got our lifters in. He's just tightening them down. Gonna torque them. Head surface is clean. Head gasket, and then we'll throw the head on. There we go. Got the head all on the dowels. Now we can throw the bolts in. All right, so there's a 3-part process. First is 25 foot-pounds. Here's the sequence. Hopefully you guys can see it. You can't even see it on this camera. But there's a specific sequence. It goes 1, 2, and you're basically gonna work your way from the center out. I'll try to link this for you guys down in the description as well, the sequence pattern, or actually I'll put it up on the screen here, which I can do. So this is the sequence you're gonna follow. And then the smaller bolts up here have a different torque, which I'll show you in a second. All right, so these ones are 15 foot-pounds, these ones with a 10 mil head. Okay, so we went 25 foot-pounds on the head bolts, then we went 40 foot-pounds on the head bolts. Now we have to do 90 degrees, so you have to take your ratchet and go 90 like that on each one in the same pattern. So that's the last step. And then we are going to also torque these guys down to 25 foot-pounds in the end. So let's go.
That was right above us.
Okay, so all those are torqued to yield. We put that 90 degree on them. Now we're gonna do our bolts up here, and those are gonna be 25 foot-pounds in the same sequence. Okay, so we've got the longer push rods in here for the exhaust, so they go in there. And now he's just gonna put the rocker arm on. Again, make sure it doesn't have a big eye stamped on it. This is gonna rotate up to be over here though. There we go.
I get these in place.
I don't like you need more hands.
Yeah. Definitely help to have a set of hands here to do this.
Yeah, I'll hold this one.
Okay.
Maybe I can get this one too.
There's that one. And now I got a wiring harness in the way. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay.
There's that one, that one, that one. Maybe we can get a bolt started.
Now we can start these bolts.
Yeah, those are all nice in the cup. And you're gonna tighten these down evenly, and then I'll tell you guys what torque they are. So I just want to point something out to you guys. Hopefully you guys can see this. These bolts have these large platforms on them. Essentially, this spacer here is holding this rocker here from sliding down. Make sure that you don't tighten this on top of this. I just noticed over here, this collar wanted to sit on top of that, and the push rod was actually sitting over further than it's supposed to. So these ride against. Hopefully I can show you guys. There was one that was not under compression. So see how these can move on the actual sleeve? You want to make sure that it's on the outside of this flat surface here so that you can get these all butted down. So all these are down. We just got to torque them, but we're gonna go ahead and install the intakes. All right, so we've got our intake push rods in here. Since we put new lifters in there, you want to push them in and they're going to fully seat them into the cam. So just push on them, make sure you got them fully seated. You can see that one kind of clicked in. And then
So here's the eye.
he's got the rocker assembly with the eye. This is what I was telling you guys just now. So see how this goes like that? Make sure you don't end up with like that underneath, because it's not going to be fun time. So we'll go ahead and we'll throw that down. So this is the way it's going to sit. We just got to make sure that we get each push rod into the cup there.
So you get a flashlight, and then you take a little pick deal and you just kind of move it in there.
Okay, so these first two are good. This one, okay, that one's in. But they all kind of have to go in at the same time.
That one just fell out.
Did it? So we're gonna get those in. You guys understand it, but just get the push rod in the cup and start getting some of your bolts down. So once you get everything down, we just went ahead and verified everything. Just get your finger in here, make sure that the push rod is in each cup, because if you don't, you'll have a dead cylinder. So we verified it. Intake and exhaust, they're all in, and then 195 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, but inch-pounds. Following the sequence, I'll put up on the screen, and we'll click those down. Alright, so we've got our exhaust on. We're doing the same thing with the intake. Helps with two hands for sure. And I'm gonna set the camera down. You guys already know the deal. Get the push rods in the little cups for the rockers, and we'll get the bolts in. All right, next up, so we've got all these rockers, everything's tight, good to go there. And we have everything, double check everything. Again, we haven't moved our crank. Our timing is good. Our timing mark is lined up with here. Our tensioner's back in. That little pin is out, so our tensioner's fully extended. And what we just did was we put a new seal in here on our timing cover, and we also put a new gasket in. So those two are in. And then what we do have is our TV. So he's got some great RTV. We're gonna put it on the corners right here. So there and there before we put our cover back on and put our bolts back in. Okay, so Steve wanted this thing black, so he painted it black before we put it back on. So there we go. And we'll get some bolts and start threading them in. So we're gonna put all the bolts in and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so we got these all tightened down. These are 21 foot-pounds. So cover's on, torque down, we'll move on to the next step. All right, so it's another day, another Challenger. No, same Challenger. But we got the harmonic balancer, we got a brand new bolt. We're gonna toss that on. Last night, we just kind of did a little bit of cleaning up on this. That's why these crusty old covers are on here, but Steve's got some fancy ones we're gonna throw on, I think. So we're gonna get that on there and we'll move on to the next step. Send it.
It's all the way.
All right, that was easy. So right now we're just rolling it over, watching the operation, making sure all our valves are opening and closing. All right, we got our headers tight. Some guys mentioned in the last video that you can take the cylinder heads out with the headers. I mentioned that yes, you could do that if you had stock headers or if you have shorty headers. You might even be able to do it with long tubes, but we didn't even want to attempt with this. This car is new to Steve, and somebody actually welded the long tube headers to exhaust, so it would have required us cutting them. So that was one of the reasons why we didn't even attempt it, but you might be able to, but those things are massive. They go like behind the dash area. They're pretty long. But anyways, header bolts are tight. All of our accessories are on, alternators on, AC compressors on, all of our cam cover bolts. You all right? You good?
I'm allergic to work.
Allergic to header bolts. All of our accessories are on. We put the harmonic balancer on, idlers back on, tensioners back on. So we're gonna put the radiator in. Oh yeah, we did do this last night. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but we put our heater tubes back in. Those are all in good and tight. We actually, if you guys end up doing this treacherous job of taking the headers off, we left the valve covers off because it gives you a bit more room to get your hands in the top there. So that's our little tip on that one. And we're gonna put the radiator in. Okay, so we're just getting the radiator in here. We took off the core support and we're just putting it back up to the bottom. Okay, we are getting the Holley Sniper fabricated valve covers on here. They are super trick looking. Check these guys out.
And they're metal now. No more plastic.
No, so just as a comparison, those are the old crusty plastic ones. And we're getting these on here. So it's gonna look awesome with our intake manifold as well. So we're just getting those snugged up and then we'll move on. All right, valve covers are all tight. We're installing the MSD coil packs. If you guys are interested in those, we've been running them on a few vehicles now. And good results. Plug and play, don't need to do any tuning. And he's about to tighten them down. Coil packs are all in, and we've got a 180-degree thermostat. We're gonna throw in a new one. So it's got a new seal. We'll go ahead, there's gonna be the jiggle pin there, so we'll put that at the top. Like so. We'll get this in, and we'll put our water neck in with our two 13mm head bolts. There we go. Water neck's on, and our upper radiator hose is both on. Now we can put on our serpentine belt. On goes the intake. All right, I got this side.
I can't see where it goes.
Yeah.
Something like
Down. Okay. Gee, that looks sick. Dang, son. Here's where we're at, guys. We're just putting in our wire harness, connecting our coil packs, connecting our injectors, Steve's messing with some of the grounds and stuff that we took off so we can get into the headers. This side's all done as well. Reconnected our fuel line to the rail. And we're just checking a few things. We went and connected the sensors on the front of this harness. So it goes over to our intake and we'll keep going. So right now we're just dumping the oil because there's gonna be coolant in it, since when you take the heads off, it kind of mixes. So Steve's under there having the time of his life.
Wee. Ooh, look at all that water coming out. Look how clear that is.
You can't see too much. So
Oh, now it's oil, but
yeah, well, I guess the oil floats on water, right? So all the coolant would be at the bottom.
exactly, yeah.
So it's pushing it out. So we're gonna leave this drain for a while. We gotta go to the store for some supplies anyways. Steve's got the good stuff, the Pennzoil.
Liquid gold.
So we're putting oil in. We dropped all the old oil. We'll put a new MOPAR filter on it and put some new coolant in it. And we'll see how she sounds in a minute. So we've got oil in it, coolant in it. Steve's just loading up the tune for that cam, and then we'll fire this thing up. Start her up again. Like back here. All right, so we got some tune revisions in here and she's running pretty decent.
Let's see.
Steve's gonna fire her up. Sounds good up here too, so all is well.
All right guys, it's gonna be a wrap for this video. Any of the products that you guys see here that we've installed, whether it's the Holley Sniper fabricated intake manifold, or the valve covers, or the MSD ignition, or the intake, we'll link it down below, as well as the Texas Speed cam kit that we installed. Any questions, ask them below. If you guys wanna see more on this build, check out Sparky's Garage. And what else? What else did I miss?
That's it, man.
That's it.
No par, no car.
There you go. So I'll link the channel that you can check out his full build on as well. And at the same time too, we'll keep you guys updated on when we get to the track next and when we get around to driving it and testing it on the road. So if you guys enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. We'll see you guys on the next video.